Welcome back to musicmoose.org, everybody. Now in this segment I want to talk about the pull-off and the choke, the last two left-hand techniques that I'm going to be talking about for right now. And that little piece I just played, I was using the pull-off technique. Now you remember in the last segment we were talking about the push-off and how you sort of push off on that string. Whatever string you're using to do that particular technique. Now in the pull-off, it's sort of just the opposite of the push-off. You're going to pull off on the string now. And in this example I'm going to use the middle finger of my left hand and start at the second fret of the first string. So let's fret that there, and then let's pick that note with the middle finger of our right hand. And then right after we pick that string, we're going to pull it off. And you can see in the camera how that we're pulling off that string now to create that effect. Again, we can push off on that string. It would sound like this. Pushing towards yourself, and now pulling off. Pulling that string away from you. Now we can again incorporate that pull-off technique into the rolls of the right hand. So let's just incorporate the backward roll now using the first, second, and third string. So we pull off, and then we create that backward roll. And from there we can go on with the backward forward roll if we like. Again, it's just a different technique, a little bit a different nuance and sound from the push-off. Again, we can use these different techniques on different strings as well. Different strings, different frets. Again, any strings or frets that we like. So that's what a pull-off consists of. Now I'd like to talk about the choke as well in this segment. And I want to start this example in the middle of the neck because it's a little bit easier to perform the choke. A little bit higher on the neck just makes it easier on your left hand. So let's start at the 10th fret in this example of the second string. And again, you can count up your 10 frets. And remember that we also have our fingerboard markings on the fingerboard itself and on the side of the neck. So if you come up to the 10th fret and just place, we're going to use the middle finger again in this example, the second string at the 10th fret. Now what a choke consists of is pushing on the string and choking the string. They call it choking the string. So let me just pick that and choke the string. You see, it's pushing up. You're leaving your finger on the string. You don't take your finger off the string. And you can hear how that sounds. And that's called a choke. Again, we can incorporate the choke into our rolls and roll patterns. So what I want to do is use the same roll pattern, the forward roll pattern that we used when we did one example of the hammer-on from the 2nd to 3rd fret. And if you remember, it consisted of this. That was a forward roll, a pattern built off of that forward roll. So we're going to use that same pattern, but now we're going to incorporate the choke into that pattern. And it's going to sound like this. Again, you can hear how that sounds. That's that same pattern, just incorporating that choke. Now, every time you hit your index finger to the second string in that pattern, you were choking, choke that second string at the 10th fret. I'm going to play this really slowly again. And remember, every time you hit your index finger in that pattern off of the forward roll, incorporate the choke. So you can hear how that sounds, and it's this technique is widely used in bluegrass banjo. So it's really one to get under your fingers, so to speak. So those are the techniques of the left hand that I'm going to be talking about for right now. Again, remember, we have the slide, we have the hammer-on, we have the push-off, we have the pull-off, and we have the choke. Now I'm going to try to incorporate every one of these left-hand techniques into the next tune we're going to learn. Train 45, just a classic bluegrass song, a song I really love. It's a hard-driving bluegrass song. We're going to get right into that after you become familiar with these left-hand techniques. And we're probably going to even play a couple different versions of Train 45, a simpler version for those of you just starting out, and maybe a little bit more difficult version as well, and try to combine all these techniques of the left and the right hand. So hey, thanks again for joining me, everybody, and we'll see you next time right here on musicmoose.org.